Hello and welcome to Mind of the Forest, a podcast of the Louisiana Forestry Association. I'm your host, Jeff Zeringue, media specialist for the LFA. In Mind of the Forest, we talk about forestry and the importance of sustainably managed forests. Forest management is a team effort of landowners, loggers, and manufacturers such as lumber, paper, and pellet mills. When sustainably managed, forests are healthier and offer better benefits for wildlife, water, and ecosystems, guaranteeing trees continue to be an important renewable natural resource. This episode of Mind of the Forest is sponsored by First South Farm Credit. First South is your premier rural lender. With over 100 years financing timber and agriculture, they have the expertise you're looking for when financing rural property. If you're looking to purchase or refinance land, call your local First South Farm Credit office or find them online at firstsouthland.com. This is episode 64, and we're talking with Louisiana State University Ag Center professor and researcher Glen Gentry about a bait he's helping develop to address the feral hog overpopulation in Louisiana. Gentry is director of the Southeast region for the LSU Ag Center, and he's a resident director for the Doyle Chambers Central Research Station in Baton Rouge, as well as the Bob R. Jones Idlewild Research Station in Clinton. The bait Gentry is helping develop has had some promising results in being able to eliminate hogs and not leave toxic material that could negatively affect other wildlife. At present, the researchers are in the testing phase that they hope will eventually lead to EPA approval. Gentry talks about his journey that so far has spanned more than a decade. Here's Dr. Gentry. We are with Dr. Glen Gentry. He is a professor, his academic title at LSU. That's not the only thing that you do. There's a whole long list in that title. Rather than try and guess it or remember it today, Doctor, tell me about your titles.
Right now, I'm the current regional director for the Southeast region for the Ag Center, which includes all parishes east of the Mississippi River and south of Mississippi. I'm also the resident director of the Doyle Chambers Central Research Station and the Bob R. Jones Idlewild Research Station in Clinton.
And the Idlewild Research Station is where we are today, and thank you very much for taking time for us.
You're quite welcome.
We did a story with you not too long ago, and I'm sure you've done numerous other stories that deals with the hog problem. The feral hogs in Louisiana, I guess like through everywhere in the U.S. Southeast, has been a ever worsening problem.
Correct.
A forester friend once told me, said, yep, there's only two kind of lands. There's those with hogs and those that are going to get hogs.
That is correct.
So how bad, well, actually, before we get into the hogs, I really want our listeners to understand a little bit about you. Where are you from, and how did you get into the research?
I'm actually from Baker, Louisiana.
Oh,
which
not too far.
Actually now Central City in north of Baton Rouge. I got my bachelor's degree at LSU. Left and went to Arkansas, worked for J.B. Hunt Ranches, managed one of his ranches for a couple of years. Came back as a research associate, managing the cattle operation here at Idlewild. And during that time, I took advantage of the tuition exemption program that LSU offered and got a master's and PhD in reproductive physiology under Dr. Bob Godke. So that's kind of what got me here, and it's home for me. So I basically just stayed.
That's pretty nice. You can stay in your own backyard practically, huh?
Absolutely.
And you've been here, I think you said 35 years?
35 years. Be 36 in March.
Wow. Well, congratulations. And I know from Louisiana's standpoint, we're glad you came home and stayed.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Let's talk about the hog problem now, just a little bit. And it is an ever worsening problem, it seems. Everything that comes up online with a news story here and there has to do with how bad it is. How bad is the hog problem in Louisiana?
Well, when we first started this study on the toxicant, they came and asked me if I'd be willing to head it up. And I told them yes. And at the time, I thought that Texas had the hog problem, not Louisiana. When I sat down and looked at the size and land mass of Texas compared to Louisiana and looked at the estimated hog problems, our density was the same as Texas. So when we started this, I used to quote numbers of about 600,000 in the state. Now, according to Wildlife and Fisheries, we're upwards of 900 to 1 million pigs in the state.
Wow. And how long has that been?
About 8 or 9 years. 8 or 9 years.
So
And-
in less than a decade, it's
Yes.
grown by
yes.
a third?
Yeah, and so I'm a reproductive physiologist by trade, so this really interested me.
Yeah.
So I sat down and computed what a single sow could potentially add to a population. Typically, sows have about 1.5 liters on average per year. Domestic pigs can have more than that, but a feral sow will have that. And they average about 6 piglets per litter. They reach puberty about 13 months. So if you do some math, and I used a survival rate of about 85%. There's not a lot of predators that will attack hogs other than humans and maybe a bear or two.
Yeah.
A single sow can add upwards of hundreds of piglets to the landscape in 48 months. And then,
Wow.
because at that point, her piglets are then having piglets, and so it just escalates. When you push that out to 72 months, it's in the thousands. So that's how we've gotten to the point where we are right now with the number of pigs. It's the reproductive potential of these animals that really makes them very, very difficult to control.
In the story that I had written, it seemed like I came across one of the reasons was the hogs were turned loose in the wild as game. Is that correct?
Absolutely. There's been stories, I don't know about here in Louisiana, but there was a story in Tennessee. There was a feral hog population up in the northeast corner of that state. They'd been there for years and years. The legislature in that state legalized feral hog hunting, and within 10 years, every county in Tennessee had pigs. And the same things happened here. These things are very opportunistic. They can survive in all different types of terrain and climate. And most of the problems that we have is due to pigs going up and down the road at 55 miles an hour and then being released on a particular piece of ground for hunting purposes, basically.
So hunters not really understanding the problem that they're causing.
Correct.
And now is it just not enough hunting of them to
there's
at least
been some
deplete some of it?
Arguments of that, and I'm absolutely not against hunting. I think they ought to be hunted to extinction if possible. The problem is it's not possible. You have to remove 75% of a feral hog population just to keep numbers level and static. So if you do the math, let's use 1 million. We'd have to kill 750,000 pigs a year in Louisiana just to hold numbers at 1 million. And Wildlife and Fisheries have kept up with numbers. We're not anywhere near that. The last numbers that I saw, and I don't know the exact number, but we actually kill more pigs than we do deer in this state. And we're still not anywhere near the number we need to be. Interestingly, there was a study done years ago. There's an island off the coast in the Pacific called Santiago Island. It's a couple of miles wide, 10 or 15 miles long. They had pigs completely surrounded by water. They decided they were going to remove that pig population. And so they did. They used poisons, hunting, trapping, the whole 9 yards. It took them 30 years on this small island to remove all the pigs.
Wow.
So if you compare that to the landmass of North America, it's not realistic to think we can shoot our way out of this.
So the development has been for this bait. And
correct.
You were noted for this a few years ago in developing this particular bait. Well, first of all, what is
the bait?
What is the bait? And then what led you there? How'd you get to there?
So when all this started, the USDA was really interested in sodium nitrite as a toxicant for feral pigs.
Is there a layman's term to that would be understandable?
Sodium nitrite. That's what it's called. It's not sodium nitrate. A lot of people say that. It's also used as a preservative in foods that humans consume. Really? So bacon, sausage, that sort of thing has got sodium nitrite in it to preserve that food. Okay. So what happens is you and I have an enzyme called methemoglobin reductase. So when we consume a nitrite, like sodium nitrite, it causes our hemoglobin to convert to methemoglobin, which then can't carry oxygen. So basically your red blood cells can't carry oxygen after you get to a certain height. But we have this enzyme, methemoglobin reductase, that reverses this process. So it's not a big issue for people. Now you can eat too much sodium nitrite and have issues, but typically it's not an issue. Mm-hmm. Pigs don't have a lot of methemoglobin reductase. So it doesn't take much to push them over the edge and cause this phenomenon to take place. We did some studies at LSU probably close to 9 years ago, and they're called LD90 studies, which are studies to determine what the lethal dose is to kill 90% of our test population. LD lethal dose 90%. Okay. We come up with 188 parts per million, or 188 milligrams per kilogram. That's the number we came up with. The FDA says humans can safely consume up to 200 parts per million, or 200 milligrams per kilogram. So the lethal dose for pigs is lower than the safe dose for humans. The other interesting part about sodium nitrite, and I think that's one of the reasons that it's really been looked at, is it converts to non-toxic compounds pretty readily in the environment, and that was part of the issues. I guess we'll talk about the bait here in a minute. Yeah. But it's not something that's going to sit out on the landscape for months and months and continue to cause issues.
Oh, okay. Like the fear of anything that's poisonous.
Like some of the pesticides that people will put out, it won't do that.
Okay.
So it converts to, and we have a chemist on staff now, Dr. Pobin, who helped us out a lot. Sodium nitrite will react readily with water. So if I took a little cup and put sodium nitrite, especially in Louisiana in July and August when it's hot and humid, put it right here. They're little white crystals. They look like salt. You come back in an hour, the cup's half full of water. So it'll pull moisture out of the air. And then if the moisture, which typically it is slightly acidic, it converts to these other compounds, which are not as toxic. And that was one of the things that we fought with this bait is how do you put something on the landscape that's going to remain where it needs to be, not convert to compounds that won't do its job. But at the same time, when a pig consumes it, it induces methemoglobinemia in pigs. So we started out, and there was a lot of push. There was several researchers across the nation that were working with this. Everybody thought that it needed to be encapsulated, which means you have to encapsulate all these little crystals. And then when the pig eats it, whatever you encapsulate it with has to break down to release, and it has to be released pretty quickly. You have to give them a bolus dose. Okay. And we tried that here. I must have worked 6-8 months, and I'm a reproductive physiologist, so encapsulation of sodium nitrite is way out of my wheelhouse. So I reached out to the Department of Chemistry, and Dr. Poyman joined us. Mm-hmm. And it took him about a month. He came back and said, we don't need to encapsulate it. We need to adjust the pH of the bait matrix to be slightly alkaline, and it won't convert. So when the pigs consume it, it enters the stomach, hydrochloric acid in the stomach, it releases and does its thing. So that's what really put us forward in this bait process was the finding from Dr. Poyman and his lab.
So instead of encapsulation, which is kind of like those capsules that you take your supplements in.
Absolutely.
It can be in a different form. Well, it's a gel form that you have, right?
Well, the sodium nitrite is a crystalline form. Okay. Our bait matrix is a gel, and sort of like a gel. And we did that for a reason. Early on, we wanted to make sure that when pigs ate our baits, we didn't have crumbles, very small crumbles that would fall and they couldn't get, and then you would have other animals come in. And they run into some issues in Texas with another bait from that very same reason. These crumbles would hit and these little birds would come in. It doesn't take much for a little bird, even though you can't hardly see it. So we made ours sort of like gummy bear consistency. Okay. So when they did bite, if pieces fell off, it would be in big enough that they could reach down and pick it back up.
So you wanted the bait to be able to crumble, which like a normal food, but stay large enough that the hog can consume all of it.
Yes, and in fact, we added a fluorescent dye to our bait that fluoresces under black light. So we've taken placebo baits, and what a placebo bait is a bait that doesn't have the active ingredient, and we put out on the landscape for pigs to consume. Okay. And then we would come back with a black light before daylight and shine, and we have yet to find pieces on the ground.
Really?
So it's working like it's supposed to.
Okay.
In the fact that we can't find it, so the pigs are actually consuming the baits that we put out.
Okay. Well, so you figure that out, and the chemist seems like the one to put everything together for that particular project.
Yes.
How do you get it to the pigs, and how do you get them to consume it?
We ran preference trials when we were making our bait matrix, and that was one of the more interesting parts of this project for me.
When you try to find a flavor that the pigs like?
Absolutely.
Really?
So you think pigs will eat anything, and actually they're kind of picky, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah. So as a researcher, we're taught when we want to run or find out something to go to the literature, look up people that have done similar projects, and then you can quote whatever method they used and you use it on yours and it's accepted and you move forward. Well, there was something called a T-maze, which they used in domestic pigs, which was basically a T that was like a tunnel. Okay. So the pig would be put at the base of the T with a door, and you would open one side. You'd also have doors that went each arm at the top of the T. So you would open one door and you'd let the pig loose, and he would go down there, and you'd have a bait ingredient that he could eat. And then you run him back and you close that door and you offer him the other one. And then from that point, you open both doors and you run him 10 times, and he will begin to go to the one that he likes the best. Okay. So we built this thing right here on the station, put a pig in it.
Domestic pig?
Huh?
Domestic pigs you're working with?
No, none of our studies were done with domestic pigs.
Oh, okay.
So we would actually go out and trap wild pigs.
Wow, okay.
And bring them to the station and use them in our studies. So we pulled the door on this pig. He didn't leave. He just laid in that end and wouldn't go. So obviously he didn't read the same research trials that I read. So after that was a complete and total failure, we went back to the drawing board and came up with a feeding mechanism where we would offer 4 bowls in a square with 2 different feed ingredients catty-corner from each other. So for whatever direction the pig came in, he had an option to eat one or the other. And then when all of one of the ingredients was consumed, that particular trial ended, and we ran this over and over and over again. So that's how we came up with the bait matrix that we had. But we tested all kinds of things. We tested marshmallows, peanut butter, maple syrup. I mean, you name it, we tested it. And it wasn't until we went I had a research associate named Matt Capel at the time. And you see that big lake down there?
Yeah.
So I sent him down there and I said, we're going to pay you to fish today. And so he went down there and caught a fish, and we cut the fish up and put it opposite corn. So in all of these trials that we ran, we have to have a control. Mm-hmm. It was corn. So everything that we tested was tested against whole shell corn. Okay. And they always picked the whole shell corn first. Well, that particular trial, there was no preference. He ate the fish as quick as he ate the corn. So it didn't go the way we wanted it to go, but at least we had made some progress.
Yeah.
So I was reading some data that had come out of Texas, and the pigs are interested in calories. I mean, that's what they're interested in. So energy, basically, for themselves. So I'm sitting here scratching my head trying to figure out, how do I increase the calories in this fish? So the only way that I could come up with was to dehydrate the fish and remove the water. And so when we dehydrated the fish and removed the water, the pigs went to the fish 9.9 times out of 10 before they ever touch the corn. And I'll never forget that day. I was so excited. That was my first significant finding on feral pigs. And we have a Bob R. Jones Wildlife Research Institute up here that's named after the gentleman that was involved in getting this station. And there's a board of directors. And we had a meeting, and I had my slides, and I showed the pig coming in and eating the fish first, and I was able to throw up pigs prefer dehydrated bass compared with whole shell corn. P is less than 0.05. That's the number we use. This will work out 95% of the time, basically what the 0.05 means.
Okay.
One of the gentlemen raised his hand and said, isn't bass a sport fish? And I said, yes, but I didn't sell the fish to the pig. I fed it to him. And Wildlife and Fisheries said you need to find a different fish or we're going to have big issue. Yes. So basically we moved to pogies, which work.
Does the species of fish really matter? Does it make that much of a difference?
Tell you that
oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead.
That's fine. So pogie, they prefer pogie, which is not a sport fish. I can buy it all day long. Mm-hmm. And somebody mentioned carp, which is an invasive species. So we tested big head carp, and they prefer big head carp too. So long term, it may be that we can use one invasive species to control another, which would be pretty cool.
Yes, that would be.
Yeah.
Two birds, one stone.
Yeah. So that's kind of how we got there with deciding what pigs like to eat. We tested our bait matrix against whole shell corn, and they will eat our baits first.
Wow.
So, and in our LD90 trials, some people have asked, how long does it take to pig to die?
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
2.5 to 3 hours. If the pig eats a lethal dose, the pig will die in 2.5 to 3 hours.
And what is a lethal dose?
The lethal dose is the 188 milligrams per kilogram part per million.
Okay.
So what the point that I was trying to make earlier is because pigs don't have this enzyme that I was telling you about, the methemoglobin reductase. They do have some of it, but not a lot. Can't make it real quick. So you have to get a bolus dose in them. So if I took a lethal dose for a pig that weighs 200 pounds and I fed that pig that lethal dose, I split it up and I fed it to him over 45 minutes or an hour, he will not die. But if he consumes it within 2 or 3 minutes, you get that bolus dose and release of sodium nitrite.
Okay.
He will succumb to its effects.
Does that mean that I guess it varies the size of the bait for the size of
the bait that we're working with right now contains 8 grams of sodium nitrite.
Okay.
Which is capable of killing a 100-pound pig. 97, I think, is the exact number.
Okay.
But the bait balls, we use spheres because we want to be able to deliver them. We don't want them to clog up in the feeders and that sort of thing.
Right.
Or about 1.5 inches in diameter. So they're not real big. Okay. I was getting phone calls from accounting services at the Ag Center questioning some of my purchases. One of the things they questioned was my whiskey ball molds that that I was using for the baits. So that's basically the mold that we used to develop the original bait was a whiskey ball mold. So that gives you an idea of the size.
The whiskey ball ice that you're talking about,
yes,
those are the molds that you use.
That's the size of a
it's not only Louisiana, but I do love that twist.
But anyway, so that if a pig, a 97-pound pig, consumed one, theoretically, because there's some variance in pigs, it would succumb to the effects of the sodium nitrite. But pigs eat multiple of these things, so it's not a big issue. They will overconsume. It's not a problem.
Does it kill smaller hogs more quickly? Or
yes. Yeah. Well, typically what happens is when you have a sounder come in, you've got typically it's a matriarch sour two and some piglets. The boars are off doing what boars do.
Right.
But when they show up, it's typically a sow and some piglets. The sow eats first, and then the piglets will eat. So it doesn't take as much of our bait to kill a piglet because a piglet's smaller
Right.
But yes, it will kill piglets too.
Okay. So if the sounders are coming in and they're matriarchal, how do you get the boars?
Well, they'll come by,
Okay.
but typically they don't come by with the sow and the piglets. They're in bachelor groups or chasing other sows.
Ah.
So they will come through and eat. Typically, when they show up, everything else leaves. That's at the feeder.
Oh, okay. So
it's a social dominance order in
Okay.
these sounders, which is it's in all animals. It's in beef cattle, pigs, deer. Boars are at the top next to the sows, and then the piglets fall at the bottom. So that's the order in which they will eat if all of them showed up at the same time.
okay. So then the sow has time to eat and the piglets eat and they wander off before they die?
Yeah.
Or?
So the idea was, and we haven't been able to test our real bait with the sodium nitrite on the landscape. Everything that we've done with the sodium nitrite has been in pens.
Okay.
So the idea is, because we did these preference trials and the pigs will eat our baits first. So we typically, one of the ways we deliver these is we have a contraption, would be a good way to put it, that you hang on a wildlife feeder that dumps corn.
Okay.
So pigs come to the corn. You see pigs there, you can text this apparatus and it will release baits, and the pigs leave the corn, eat the bait, and go back to eating corn.
Okay.
So they could be there when you show up. They could be within close proximity. But the interesting part is there was some work that came out of Texas that said the sodium nitrite content in a carcass from a pig that has been killed with sodium nitrite is less than 100 parts per million, which is relatively low, except in the stomach contents. Thigh, liver, all these other organs don't have but 100 parts per million, which is pretty safe for the environment.
But in the stomach, it has more?
Yeah, well, yeah, it has more because the bait was in the stomach.
Right.
But again, when that's opened up, unless something is actually slurping the contents of the stomach, it pretty quickly converts to other things. Okay. So it's not something that you're gonna see. We don't think it's something you're gonna see a dead pig out here,
right?
And then scavengers consuming the dead scavengers, and that's all been with sodium nitrite. There was another group out of Texas that was working with sodium nitrite, and that did not happen.
Yeah, that's another thing that is worried about when it comes to poisons, because poison will stay in. Whatever creature eats that carcass can die as well.
With sodium nitrite, we don't think that's going to be a problem. And there's actually some data that shows that. Because it's hygroscopic and pulls water and converts pretty readily, it makes it a good candidate for what we're talking about doing, putting it on the landscape, because it's not going to last that long.
Yeah.
On the flip side of that, we have to design our bait to where it will last long enough in a feeder
to be effective,
to be fed to pigs. Yes. Okay. So that was the double-edged sword we're working with.
Does it break down if it's in the feeder for so long? I mean, how long?
So in the feeder, we're in the process of running trials now where we're looking at temperature and humidity. We do know that we have stored sodium nitrite balls, our actual spheres, in glass containers, and they've lasted over a year on the shelf.
Wow. Okay.
Both at, I think Dr. Pullman told me, at 95 degrees and lower, with no apparent change to sodium nitrite content. So the long-term idea with this would be to have these things vacuum packed. So you have good shelf life. You go open this vacuum packed and load your feeder up. He's in the process now of testing how long they would actually last in the feeder. We're guessing, I guess using scientific terms, we're hypothesizing that it's probably going to last at least a week and a half in the feeder.
In the feeder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it does break down pretty readily.
How soon are you from trying it out on the landscape?
Well, we have to get what's called an experimental use permit from the EPA.
Okay.
And that has proven for me to be a significant challenge because I don't know exactly what I need to get an experimental use permit.
Wow.
And we've been in contact with EPA, and we've talked back and forth. So we've gone out and we've actually hired an EPA consulting group out of Virginia.
Okay.
It's going to help us navigate what needs to happen to get the EUP. So the way it works is you apply for an EUP. If you're successful and you get an EUP, they give you, I think it's 18 months, maybe a year, 18 months to run your trials.
Okay.
And then you turn all that data in and they review it for, I think, 3 years, and they have up to 3 years to approve it. So that's some of the hurdles that we're trying to navigate with this. I'm doing my very best to make sure we're squeaky clean as an ag center and following the Fed's policies and directives. What I need from the EPA is you need this, and this to submit an EUP. But we're not even to that point yet. There's certain studies that have to be run with our bait in the formulation that it's in. One of them is called a 6-pack, which is a toxicology work.
Okay.
And the EPA has these labs, independent labs, and I believe that we need to go out and have an independent lab run these things. It's our bait. To me, it doesn't make sense for us to say, oh, yeah, it works fine. This is what we developed, and it meets these criteria. Let an independent lab do this.
Right.
There's a list of labs. They don't endorse these labs, but these labs do the things that they need done. And I had my research associate reach out and ask if we ran a 6-pack, what would it cost us? The numbers range from about $60,000 up to $160,000.
Wow.
So there's a vast difference.
Yeah.
Which tells me they're not the same studies.
Yeah.
So I need some direction because I have to go out. We're not like a company that's got deep pockets and we're trying to get this to the market. We are trying to get this registered so we can get a company that will take it and run it. But I don't know what I need. And typically I work from year to year. So I get 1-year grants.
Yeah.
So if I start down this road and I have a 1-year grant and I got to go 2 years, I have to ensure that I've got funding for the next year or everything grinds to a halt. We basically have to start up again.
Wow.
So and I think we'll get it worked out. The problem is, again, I'm a reproductive physiologist. So when you get into these policies and procedures and omnibuses and these 300-page, it just will drive you crazy.
I can understand. There must be some companies in Louisiana that have seen what you've been working on and consider that as a good investment, if you will.
It is, but from a business standpoint, I've been told, now I don't know whether this is accurate or not, but I've been told that there is a little hesitancy from some people because we're not far enough along in the process with the EUP and doing that test. We've run pen trials. But you're asking a company to invest in a product that over time will reduce the actual animal that you're trying to control. Does that make sense? So I don't think it's going to come to that because I don't think there's people out there that think, oh my word, they're going to put poison out there and the pigs are going to disappear. And that's not going to happen. It's going to be another tool in the toolbox for us to learn how to control those populations. I like to use the example rats. We've been poisoning rats for 50 years. We still have rats.
Yeah.
Same thing with the pigs. So the pigs aren't going to disappear, but we'll have to learn how to control them. But from a business standpoint, there's folks that are worried, if I make this investment, is it an investment of lowering returns because what the thing does?
Okay. All right. Now I
Does that make
understand what
sense?
you're saying. Yeah. I guess from our standpoint, we look at it as a negative thing, having so many hogs.
Correct.
And based on what you said a little while ago, I can't imagine the extermination of every last hog in Louisiana.
I want to be very clear because there's been things in the media, extermination of feral pigs, never happened. From a scientific, it's not going to happen. I just told you the story about the little island. I mean, they're here. People are going to be able to hunt them. I think we should hunt them. People enjoy it. It's fun. I've been to hog hunts, and it's fun. but they're absolutely a destructive animal, especially for agriculture, and they carry zoonotic diseases that basically affect humans.
Really?
We've had a researcher, Mike Caller, that has done some water sampling in a state park. What's it? I always forget this name. Starts with an N. Up there around Ellick, up there where you're from.
It's a state park.
Or federal, one of the two.
Excuse me. Oh God, I can't.
You're
think
blanking
right
too.
now. Yeah,
It starts with
yeah.
an N. It's up there by Fort Polk and all that other stuff. But anyway, they took water samples, and the water samples had leptovibrio, all these different diseases that could be traced back to feral pigs. So now you have people bringing families into state parks that are enjoying themselves and doing things that people do in state parks, but you still have issues with this sort of stuff
that they can come in contact with.
Absolutely. And the more hogs we have, the more of that stuff is on the landscape.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, it could be a problem.
So the importance of controlling them goes way beyond just the destruction of agriculture.
ag. I mean, the Ag Center got into this because of the agricultural component, but there is a human health concern that goes along with it that can't be ignored.
Incredible. So you have been studying this particular bait for how long now?
About 12, 13 years.
12 to 13 years. Do you think that this process could be complete before you retire? Not saying you're old. Just
no.
I mean, you've been at this for a long time.
It's not going to be complete before I retire.
Okay.
But I'm going to continue after retirement working with the university. My goal is to see this to fruition because our ag stakeholders, our original grant came from the Pennington Family Foundation, which actually gave us a foundation and some early work to start be able to put proposals to the other peoples. I've been routinely funded by the Soybean and Grain Board, Rice Research Board, a little bit of money from the state, not a lot, but those two stakeholder groups have been the primary driver of all the work that we've done. Wow. And I think we owe them a toxicant, and that's my goal. And whether I'm retired or not, I'm planning on finishing this thing, unless I die tomorrow, which is not unheard of.
Well, we hope not, but certainly there has to be some other professor who's going to carry the mantle.
We can find somebody, I'm sure. Right now, Dr. Poyman and I are working on this. We recently hired Dr. Jim LaCour, who used to work for Wildlife and Fisheries, that is now on board here at Idlewild, who will be instrumental in this. So I think we will see it done. I want people to be assured that it's just not going to get dropped if Glen Gentry retires.
That's a good thing. I'm certain a lot of landowners, and especially with the Forestry Association, are happy to learn that. It is something that has taken very many years, and it looks like it's going to be many more years to come. There's the feeling, especially we humans, we want instant gratification. So
Correct.
we think that this is going to be a quick turnaround, and it's a great thing. It's a new development. It's a good development, but it seems like there's still a pretty good length of road to go down.
There is, and some of the things that we need to visit with the EPA about. Sodium nitrite's been used in human food for years as a preservative. So one of the questions that we have is, if humans can consume this safely, within reasonable levels, why should we have to jump through numerous hoops to use it for something else?
Yeah.
And we'll visit with them. We'll get it all worked out. They have their reasons. I understand.
Certainly.
But some cross-linking of research trials and that sort of thing needs to happen.
It seems odd that the federal government hasn't jumped on board in assisting in the research, or certainly the funding to try and get this. This does seem like, correct me if I'm wrong, there's something else out there, but it does seem like the most promising thing right now.
Well, we actually do have an approved bait federally for feral hogs.
Really?
It's called kaput. It's warfarin based. And it was approved probably in 2012 So the way this works is the federal government, the EPA, approves a bait, and then each state has to approve it within its borders to be utilized.
Okay.
So in this state, that would be Mike Strain's group. They would have to look at a pesticide and decide whether it can or can't be used here. But it's a warfarin-based bait. And from my understanding, it's now being used in Texas and Oklahoma. So if you read the label on the warfarin, and I had a bucket of it around here at one point, you put out a non-toxic form of this bait in a feeder, you get pigs coming, you add the toxic form, in 4 to 5 days, you start seeing pigs die. So it takes that long to kill a pig. So you have pigs walking around the landscape with sublethal doses of warfarin. Now, I think it's methyl blue that they put in this. So if somebody kills a pig that's eaten this bait, the fat is supposed to show a bright blue color when they open the pig up to let them know, no go.
Right.
So that is there. I quite honestly can't tell you how well it works.
What is warfarin?
Warfarin is a anticoagulant. Are you familiar with Coumadin?
Yes.
Warfarin.
Okay.
So it's so basically what the pig does is when they consume enough of that, they bleed.
They bleed out internally.
Internally, yes,
okay.
Yes, and it takes quite a while.
And is that pose any danger to? Well, you said with the hunters, they can have the blue tint to the fat. But
there are some questions, and I haven't gone down this rabbit hole a whole lot, but there are some questions about the safety of warfarin in aquatic species, so runoff and that sort of thing. But I mean that's their bait,
right?
So
scavengers, could it affect?
I would think that it may be. I don't know. I don't know. I know the half-life of sodium nitrite is about 60 minutes, 65, I think. So when a pig consumes it, in 60 minutes, there's half of what he consumed. In 61 minutes, there's half. So it readily goes down. I couldn't tell you what warfarin is. I don't know.
But this bait that you're developing is, it seems, one of the more promising ones.
We've been told that by multiple people and multiple agencies. So we're hoping, that there was another bait that they were working with in Texas that was from an outfit in New Zealand that was sodium nitrite based. It was peanut butter based. And I don't know whether those trials are still ongoing or whether they've gone back and they've had to restart those trials, making some changes based on field trials. But we've told that ours is very, very promising. We're excited about it. We're just looking for a path forward. That's what I need.
Yeah.
If I had a pocket of money, then I could say, okay, let's run this, and then you can tell me what after we need to run, and we just continue. But I don't have a pocket of money. I mean, that's the funding is the issue.
So the with better funding, those tests can be done more quickly.
Absolutely.
Okay. And these third-party labs that can do all the testing, or they are what you're seeking to get further along.
Yeah. Well, the problem isn't with the labs. The problem is determining what the EPA requires to get to an EUP. What actual tests need to be run? So we do need. I have learned that whatever tests run need to be run on our final bait. This is our bait. It's in a sphere. It's got our matrix. It's got the sodium nitrite in it. Here, run it. But what needs to be run? A 6-pack. All right. So I contacted a company. I don't know what a 6-pack is. I learned from Wildlife Services it's a toxicology study.
Okay.
All right. So you contact these companies and say, I need to run a 6-pack on our bait. How much does it cost? Ballpark. Give me an estimate. 60 to 160,000. So it can't be the same. And you get these things in, it says, all right, it's this if needed, this if needed, this if needed, this if needed. How do I know what I need? Do you run it and turn it in? They turn around and tell you, no, you need to add this and this. I mean, I need some direction, and we're going to get this out of that consulting group that does this for a living.
It does seem like that could take forever, or just last forever.
Wildlife Services told us from the time you get your EUP until something goes to market, if all the timelines are strictly followed, 12 years.
12 years.
That's what the Wildlife Services told us.
Okay. So from the time that you get...
We don't even have an EUP yet.
Wow. So this is going to be a couple of decades, it seems, down the road.
There may be some other options we don't know yet. We're working as fast as we can work.
Through as many avenues as you're able to do.
With as many avenues as we can while maintaining the guardrails to keep the Ag Center where the Ag Center needs to be. Right.
Is Ag and Forestry, Department of Ag and Forestry involved?
So interestingly enough, you and your listeners may get a kick out of this. So the EUP from the EPA costs money. Okay, there's a fee. So I was told that the one we needed, and I argued against it, but the one we needed was $900,000 just for a fee.
Wow.
Now in their paperwork, which they sent, they said state agencies and federal agencies are exempt from that fee. So I said, not a problem. I work for Louisiana State University. We're a state agency. And I was told they don't recognize LSU as a state agency.
Really?
And then I was told, I said, well, we'll run it through Wildlife and Fisheries. I was told they do not recognize Wildlife and Fisheries as a state agency. So I said, okay, who do you recognize as LDAF? So we went and met with Dr. Strain and his group, and they've agreed to help shepherd this thing through his department. So these are the things that we're facing moving forward.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
The path is hard enough. Trying to find the path seems to be more difficult.
That's correct.
Goodness gracious. Okay. Well, so as of this point, you're looking to...
We're looking to get an EUP. That is our next big step. Okay. Whatever trials need to be run, which are, I think, all laboratory trials, we farm out, run those. Here's the data. Here's what we've got. Give us an EUP. Then we take that EUP and we go on the landscape where pigs can come and go like pigs come and go instead of being in, you can put pigs in we've got a 2-acre pen that we had pigs in, but it's not the same. I mean, if I run something in there, it's not the same as a pig being on the landscape. Yeah. We think it's going to work great, but until we actually show it working on the landscape with a toxicant in the bait, really don't have a whole lot. And so I need to get it on the landscape. I want limited trials is what I'm looking for, limited field trials.
It would seem like pigs could go much farther than a couple of acres.
Yes.
And that's the problem is what you're saying, right?
Well, no, the problem is with a fence, they're confined. Mm-hmm. And we ran into, when we started looking at this sort of thing, we kind of tried to decide how to approach it. If you confine pigs, they don't act the same way they do when they're on the landscape. They just don't.
In what ways? Can you define that?
Well, we've had pigs that we put in pens to try these individual pens where we can monitor them that won't eat anything. They sit in a corner. I'll tell you how in tune they are with their environment. There was a group that needed some high-resolution pictures of pigs because they were going to develop some software that would recognize pigs. Mm-hmm. So they came to us and wanted to put up a game camera in the corner of our pig lot. At that time, we probably had 60 pigs, 80 pigs in there. So there was a corner that the pigs hang out in all the time. They were always there. There's a tree, hay bale. So they drove a single T-post and put a camera on that T-post. And the pigs did not re-enter that corner for 2 weeks.
Really?
Really. So they are very, very, very in tune to their environment. And if these change, they act differently. That's why we need field trials.
So that's something that could be a threat to them, so they're not going to go there. They're going to avoid it.
That's correct. That's correct. That's correct.
Wow. Okay. Well, it's kind of hard to guess how soon you can get to a field trial if you're still looking for the EPU. So,
well, I don't think that the laboratory tests will take that long to run. Mm-hmm. I think it's just a matter of submitting a bait and telling them to run this test and getting the results. Yeah. That the long-term deal is going to be the review process And I think we have a year and a half to actually run a field trial, which will be it's going to be expensive because we're going to have to collar pigs with GPS collars so we can track pigs. You know, we have to be able to show to a reasonable degree, this pig came, this pig ate, this pig died or did not. We never found it. So that's got to be shown.
And those collars could change their behavior as well, it sounds like.
Well, they could. According to the people that I've talked with, not necessarily a lot. Once you release them back, you know, when they're not confined or people aren't around, or they'll do okay.
Okay.
The problem is designing an experiment that doesn't change behavior to such a degree that will affect the outcome. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a challenge to do that, but I think we've got a pretty good plan. We just have to get it approved.
Okay. What have I not asked you that is important to this whole project?
Well, the only other thing, I told you about the delivery system that we had here. Mm-hmm. We're also working on another delivery system. So we've run several trials on this station where we buried placebo baits. So we replaced the sodium nitrite with salt. Okay. And we have determined, pigs have a lot of olfactory glands, so they can actually smell better than dogs can.
Wow.
So we've run some trials on the station, my research associate, Errol Bourgoin, and we've determined that if we bury baits, and this was actually Dr. LaCour's idea to bury baits, 6 inches. Typically, raccoons, possums, these other animals don't bother them, but pigs will root them up. So one of the things we're discussing right now is for these agricultural stakeholders is coming up with a way to put an implement behind a tractor and ring a field with these baits.
Okay.
And drop them every so often. Now, what that'll do is they'll come in, and if they smell them, they'll root them up. You still have 2.5 hours before the pig succumbs, but at least you're making a impact on that population. So that's the other mechanism that we're looking at. The delivery system that's hooked onto a wildlife feeder uses cellular technology for you to communicate. So it sends you a picture, pigs are there, you text the machine, it empties some baits. As hard as we've tried, we can't get all the pigs to live only in places that have cell signals. So we have to come up with an alternative method of delivering this toxin, and burying them or ringing a field, we think will work. That's all something that has to be approved by the EPA.
Wouldn't you also have to see what the shelf life of
that's what Dr. Poyman's working on right now. We're going to actually come up here and bury baits and exclude pigs and see how long it lasts. The problem that you run into that from a strictly scientific point of view, if I bury baits at Idlewild, 6 inches deep, and I bury baits in Baton Rouge, let's say at the Central Research Station, 6 inches deep, it's completely different.
What do you mean?
We got water, different soil types.
Okay.
So I can say, if I bury it here, it does this. If I bury it there, it does that. But I can't cover every single environmental factor across the Southeast United States. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So we've come up with some laboratory tests where we're going to use different soil types. Mm-hmm. We're going to put them in, rain on them, do the things that we need to do just to try to get a general understanding. I don't think we will ever be able to say unequivocally, if you bury that here, this will happen.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And are there other things you can do to make it last longer?
Correct. And that's going to be a chemistry question. I've learned that chemistry is not my forte. That's Dr. Pullman.
That's why you get friends.
That's why I got Dr. Pullman, and he agreed to. It was really interesting because when I was encapsulating bait, either it didn't work, because what will happen is if you encapsulate it and you store this stuff, you come back and open the bucket, it smells like chlorine. That's part of the decomposition of the sodium nitrite.
Oh, okay.
I had that happen, but I also encapsulated it, and I could feed pigs 4 and 5 times the lethal dose. It wouldn't kill them. So I was encapsulating it so well, it was going right through the digestive tract.
Oh, okay.
Out the back end, and they never got the effect of the sodium nitrite. And when he called me, he said, all we got to do is add Tums to the bait matrix. So sodium bicarbonate, some kind of buffer to raise the pH just a little bit, which is what Tums does, and fixes the problem.
Thank God for chemists.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Man. How has, for you personally, how has this journey been? I mean, it is a journey. You've learned a great deal.
It is.
Over the past 12, 13 years you've been on.
Well, you know, when I got my degree in reproductive physiology, and I've done embryos, artificial insemination, horses, elk, white-tailed deer, red deer, goats, the whole 9 yards. I've done that whole gamut. Collected embryos from all those species. I never thought that people would know me for the pig work.
Well, it is different.
And that's kind of, you know, it's like you said early in the conversation, they came and asked me if I'd run this, and I asked the question, what do I need to do? Mm-hmm. Well, we want you to kill pigs, come up with a way to kill pigs. And I, like most people, sure, that's not a problem. I ought to be able to do that pretty quick. That was 12, 13 years ago. And I'm still working on, we can kill them, but we got to get it approved. So it was a journey, and I've learned a lot from this. You know, the pigs are pretty smart. They when I took Animal Science 1011 as an undergraduate at LSU, they said pigs were the smartest domestic species we have. And there's no doubt in my mind that's not true. Wow.
And in the wild, they're just the same.
They carry that intelligence right with them. Have you heard the stories of the helicopter shoots they've had on the coast of Louisiana?
No, I have not.
The pigs learned to run into the roseau cane and hide.
Okay.
And they would hunker down in the roseau cane, and they couldn't get them to come out. Pigs, they would actually go down and with the helicopter and try to smash the cane to get them to come out. Once the helicopter leaves, pigs come out. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. They will leave a spot and come back to it. I mean, now there is some anecdotal evidence, or you hear people say, if you catch a pig in a trap and it gets out, you will never catch it again. That's not true.
Okay.
Texas has done some work that says about 70% of the pigs that are caught and released actually will be recaught. But they are a smart individual. There's been stories of people with traps. It's something new in the environment, like the camera I was telling you about. Sow and her piglets show up. The piglets go in there to eat whatever's in the trap. Sow won't go through the gate. It's different. They are really, really intelligent creatures.
What, if any, do you have any regrets that you have in spending the last 12, 13 years working on this?
No, I have no regrets. The only thing that I wish is we could have found funding to move this along a little faster. Yeah. There's no place that I can go in the federal government in their foundational programs or outside and say, hey, I want to develop a toxicant for feral swine and, get the money that's needed. We've run this program on about $50,000 a year. So it's been a shoestring budget.
Wow. Yeah.
So we could have moved faster if there was a spot that we could go to get money.
Well, hopefully there will be a little bit along the way, a little more that will come in and help you in your research and get to the final point.
That's correct. That's my goal. I want to provide the people of Louisiana a solution, or at least a toxicant, to help control the population of pigs. There's folks out there that are adamantly opposed to any type of toxicant at all. And I understand that.
Right.
I mean, but this thing has been developed with safety in mind. I've told you about how it reacts in the environment, and it's going to basically go to nothing. It's not something that's going to hang around. We don't think it's anything that's going to negatively impact scavengers. So, we're doing our very level best to come up with a solution.
Is your hope to one day have something on the shelf at the store that a landowner can go and get and use themselves?
Yes. And I've told people in my talks, there's probably going to come a day where people can go and there's an assortment of toxicants that you can use to control feral pigs. We're not near there yet.
Yeah.
But I think that day will come eventually. Yes. Because even when I'm just going to say when this one's approved, because that's my goal. When this one's approved, you got the kaput that's been approved. And so when this one's approved, somebody else is going to come up with one. There's another group working on a sodium nitrite toxicant. There's going to be multiple ways. And that's a good thing, because depending on where the pigs are and how you have to put this stuff out, multiple toxicants and multiple delivery systems are a good thing, because pigs are up the East Coast through the Southeast, all the way up California into the Oregon and Washington state. So they're all over.
Well, considering the different environments, are there any differences in the bait itself that you would have to consider?
I don't think not ours. Not ours.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a bait that you put in the ground or it's dropped on the ground, certainly you want it on dry ground. At least I would like mine on dry ground.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you've worked with pigs, but if you have a high congregation of pigs, after a time, it's not high ground. It's So who knows what people are going to come up with. If our toxicant's delivered like it's supposed to, all the work that we have indicates the pigs will eat it before whole shell corn, which we know they're drawn to. Mm-hmm. And if they get a lethal dose, they'll succumb to it. If they don't, what's really interesting is Dr. LaCour, when he worked for Wildlife and Fisheries, actually put out some sodium nitrite on corn. Okay. Well, the pigs came in, ate it. Of course, all the little ones died because it doesn't take much. The sow ate, laid down, went to sleep, woke up, left, came back the next day and did it all over again. So we know that it's a humane process.
Okay, so then they will come back to it.
And they will come back.
Even if they survive.
Even if they survive. And that's one of those things where, when you start delivering, and I told you about social dominance orders.
Mm-hmm, right.
So there's gonna have to be a plan of how to deliver this. You deliver it and you kill the sow. The pignets, are they there? If they are, you deliver more to kill them. If they leave, they come back. It may have to be delivered over a time period to where everything has access.
Okay. Dr. Glen Gentry, LSU Ag Center, you are, list that title again that you have. You have the titles, I should say. I know you're a professor.
I'm a professor,
but you wear many hats,
academic
it seems.
Title. But I'm also regional director of the Southeast region for the Ag Center, and I'm resident director of 2 experiment stations, the Doyle Chamber Central, which is just south of campus down there, and the Bob R. Jones Idlewild, which is right here in Clinton.
Well, we thank you for all your hard work, and we appreciate and wish you the best of luck in getting this developed.
Well, thank you. Thanks for coming down, and if you ever have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for listening to Mind of the Forest. This episode was sponsored by First South Farm Credit. First South is your premier rural lender. With over 100 years financing timber and agriculture, they have the expertise you're looking for when financing rural property. If you're looking to purchase or refinance land, call your local First South Farm Credit Office or find them online at firstsouthland.com. If you'd like to learn more about sustainable forestry, the SFI and the LFA and its programs, and how you can be part of an organization that supports landowners, loggers, and the forest products industry in Louisiana, check out our website at laforestry.com. Future episodes of Mind of the Forest include a conversation with Dr. Laura Sims, formerly of Louisiana Tech University. She is studying the brown spot needle blight in pine trees in Louisiana and Arkansas. In March, the Louisiana legislature gets underway in its regular session. So LFA Executive Director Buck Vandersteen will join us and talk about the issues that could affect the forest products industry and our forests here in the state. Do you have a topic suggestion? send me an email at jzeringue@laforestry.com. That's jzeringue @laforestry.com. You want to be a Minding the Forest sponsor? We have 14 shows every year and we invite you to possibly be a sponsor on Minding the Forest. Just drop me an email at the same address. That's jzeringue@laforestry.com. Don't forget to check out the show notes for our contact information and the contact information for our guests as well. Also, you can subscribe to Mind of the Forest by clicking on the subscribe button on your favorite podcast app, and be sure to tap the notification button as well. That way you'll know when we drop a new episode every month. Thanks for doing that. We really do appreciate it. And remember, at the Louisiana Forestry Association, we are minding the forest for you.